Have you ever had those moments when it feels like everything is falling apart, when every plan crumbles, every door closes, and every prayer feels unanswered? You start to wonder if you're being ignored, if life is simply unfair, or if your strength is running out. What if I told you that these moments, the hardest ones, are often the very moments when Allah is closest to you? Sometimes life becomes so heavy that even breathing feels like an effort. You wake up every morning hoping for a sign that things will get better, but instead, another challenge greets you. Your heart aches, your mind races, and your soul feels weary. In these moments, the world may tell you to stay strong, but faith teaches you something deeper, to surrender. When everything falls apart, that's when you are being gently reminded of who holds everything together. The storms of life are not there to destroy you, but to detach you from what was never meant to hold your heart. You see, we spend so much of our lives chasing control over people, over plans, over outcomes. But the truth is, the moment we let go of that illusion, peace begins. Life isn't meant to be perfectly smooth. It's meant to shape your heart, to polish your soul, to make you remember that your strength never came from you. It always came from Him. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every no from the world is, in reality, a divine redirection. Allah does not close one door unless He has prepared something far better behind another. Sometimes the hardest part is the waiting for things to make sense, waiting for prayers to be answered, waiting for pain to fade. But in that waiting lies the most beautiful form of worship. Sabr says patience, and tawakkul, trust. When you learn to say, even if it doesn't go my way, I trust that it's going His way, you will find a peace that no hardship can take away. When life feels too hard, it's not a sign of rejection. It's often a sign of selection. Allah chooses those He loves most to come closest to Him through trials. Think about it. The prophets, the most beloved to Allah, lived lives full of difficulty, yet they were never broken by it. They were built by it. Each tear they shed was a step closer to their Lord. You might not see it now, but your pain is carving a deeper space in your heart, a space that will soon be filled with light. Just as night must fall before dawn, the soul must go through darkness before it truly awakens. Hardships strip away the false layers of our attachments, forcing us to see what truly matters. When everything is taken from you, comfort, certainty, control, you begin to realize that the only thing that remains constant is Allah. That realization, though born in pain, is one of the greatest gifts of faith, because once your heart anchors itself in Him, no wave in the world can drown you again. It's important to remember that pain is not permanent, but the lessons it teaches can last a lifetime. Islam doesn't promise a life free of struggle. It promises meaning within the struggle. When things don't go your way, ask not why me, but what is Allah teaching me through this? Maybe He's teaching you patience when you wanted speed, faith when you wanted proof, or gratitude when you wanted more. The beauty of hardship is that it breaks the ego, but elevates the soul. It reminds you that your worth isn't in your success or comfort, but in your connection to your Creator. And that connection often grows strongest in your weakest moments. The heart that breaks in prayer is more valuable to Allah than the one that beats in arrogance. When you cry to Him, know that He hears you. When you can't even find the words, know that He understands the language of your tears. So when nothing goes your way, perhaps it's because Allah is protecting you from a path that would have led you away from Him. Sometimes the doors that don't open are the greatest blessings. You see, success in Islam is not measured by worldly outcomes, by wealth, recognition, or ease, but by the state of your heart. If your heart remains soft, if it continues to trust, if it still turns toward Allah despite the pain, then you are already succeeding. Your hardship is not your punishment, it's your purification. It's Allah cleansing your heart, teaching you reliance, and guiding you to a higher level of faith. When the storm finally passes, because it always does, you will not be the same person who entered it. You will be wiser, stronger, and closer to Allah than you've ever been. So don't give up when life gets too hard. Instead, fall down in sujud. Pour out your heart to the one who never tires of listening. Remember that Allah is not testing you to break you, but to build you. Every pain has purpose. Every delay hides wisdom, every heartbreak carries healing, and every moment of patience brings you one step closer to peace. When nothing seems to go your way, it's because Allah is guiding you toward His way, the only way that truly leads to contentment. Trust that even in the chaos, there is divine order. Even in silence, there is mercy. Even in the storm, there is love. And when your faith whispers, hold on, know that dawn is near. Because Allah never leaves a heart that seeks Him, not even for a moment. When life becomes unbearably heavy and every breath feels like a battle, when your prayers seem to echo into silence and your heart trembles under the weight of trials that seem endless, that is when the true journey of faith begins. It's easy to say, I trust Allah, when everything is smooth, but real faith is born in the moments when everything around you is falling apart. The reality of life is that hardship is not a punishment, it's a path to awakening. Sometimes Allah allows your world to fall apart not because He wants to see you suffer, because He wants to remove the false attachments that have taken His place in your heart. The things we love, people, comfort, plans, dreams often become idols in disguise, and Allah in His infinite mercy will never allow you to depend on something that can break. So He breaks it before it breaks you. He takes it away before it takes you away from Him. When you understand this, pain begins to change meaning. It stops feeling like destruction and starts feeling like purification. Your heart begins to see that what you called loss was actually a gift, a painful but necessary one. Because sometimes the only way to find Allah is through the roads that break you open. When your tears fall in the quiet of the night and your chest tightens with emotions too heavy to name, know that you are not alone. Those are the very moments when your soul is speaking to the one who created it. The Prophet A once said that Allah is closest to the servant in sujood, in that moment of complete surrender. So when life knocks you down to your knees, perhaps it's not to destroy you, but to bring you into the very position where you are closest to Him. In the silence of your pain, Allah is not absent. He is listening to every unspoken prayer, every sigh, every tear that falls without sound. You may feel forgotten, but you are being held in ways you cannot yet see. Sometimes Allah's love doesn't come as an embrace, it comes as a storm. It's the kind of love that breaks down your walls so that something real can be built in their place. Because if everything in your life always went your way, you would never know your need for Him. You would never taste the sweetness of true surrender. You would never discover the strength that was hidden inside you all along. Every hardship you endure is a lesson in disguise, teaching you how to love Allah more sincerely, how to detach from what was never yours, and how to find peace not in outcomes, but in trust. When nothing goes your way, it's because Allah is redirecting you towards something better, maybe not something easier, but something truer. And sometimes that something better is not a new blessing outside of you, but a new version of yourself that emerges within. You see, pain is not the end, it's the beginning of transformation. You cannot become who Allah meant you to be if you are still clinging to who you were before the test. That's why life has to break you. It's Allah's way of remaking you into someone stronger, softer, wiser, and more grateful. Every tear you shed in those moments of confusion and despair is being collected by the one who promises that no hardship is wasted. The Quran tells us that, indeed, Allah does not let the reward of the righteous be lost. That means even your pain, even your waiting, even your heartbreak is not meaningless. It's all recorded, all seen, and all loved by the one who knows your heart better than you do. When you are in the middle of a trial, you might not understand its wisdom. You might even resent it. But years later, when you look back, you realize that the very thing you begged Allah to remove was what brought you closest to Him. You realize that He never took something from you without giving you something greater in return. Sometimes that something greater was peace. Sometimes it was patience, and sometimes it was understanding. And that's the beauty of faith. It allows you to see meaning where others see misery. It allows you to keep walking even when the path is dark, because you know the one who guides you never leaves you lost. When life becomes too hard and nothing goes your way, that's not the end of your story. It's the middle of your awakening, because faith is not about controlling the outcome. It's about surrendering to the process. It's about trusting that the one who wrote your story knows how to end it beautifully, even if the chapter you're in right now feels unbearable. So if you are reading this and your heart feels heavy, if you're tired of pretending to be strong, when all you want to do is cry, if you've prayed and begged and still see no light, hold on. Your pain is not a sign that Allah has left you. It's a sign that He's calling you closer. The path to peace is not through escaping hardship, but through learning how to walk with Allah through it. Because when you have Him, you have everything you need to survive. Let the tears fall, let your heart break open. Because every crack that pain creates is just space for His light to enter. One day, You'll look back and realize that this moment of struggle was not your downfall, it was your turning point. The place where you thought your faith would die was actually where it was reborn. You will see that nothing was wasted, not the waiting, not the hurting, not the silence. Everything was part of his divine plan to bring you closer to him. So trust the process even when it hurts. Because sometimes the only way to truly find peace is to lose everything that was never meant to hold it. And when you finally reach that place where you have nothing left but Allah, you'll understand that you were never truly empty. You were just being emptied of everything that was keeping you from being full. When life becomes unbearably difficult, when every door you knock on seems to stay shut, and when every plan you make seems to fall apart, it is easy to begin questioning everything, even your worth. Even your faith, and sometimes even the mercy of Allah. You start asking, why me? Why is everything going wrong when all I'm trying to do is survive? It feels like the more you pray, the more hardship follows. The world begins to look dim. Your heart feels heavy, and hope becomes something you can no longer touch. But what if I told you that these moments of darkness are not signs of abandonment, but invitations to rediscover who truly holds your heart? You see, when life takes everything from you, it is not because you are cursed or forgotten. It's because Allah is gently pulling away the things that distracted you from Him so that you can finally see what was real all along. The pain you feel is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to wake you up. Allah allows your heart to break so that you can learn to fill it with something that never fades, His remembrance, His mercy, and His peace. Every trial, every tear, and every unanswered prayer is a doorway to closeness with Him, if only you could trust that beyond the chaos lies a divine order that you cannot yet comprehend. It is often in the deepest struggles that we begin to understand the truth about ourselves and about Allah. When everything is easy, we live under the illusion of control. We think our plans, our strength, and our intelligence can carry us. But when everything falls apart, when life strips away the illusions, that's when the soul begins to awaken. You begin to see that hardship is not the absence of Allah's love, it is a sign of His attention. He tests the ones He loves most because He wants to cleanse their hearts, not punish them. The weight you feel is not a burden meant to crush you. It's a divine molding process meant to shape you into someone stronger, more humble, and more sincere. Sometimes Allah doesn't give you what you want, not because you don't deserve it, but because He wants to protect you from what you can't yet see. Maybe that job that didn't work out would have ruined your peace. Maybe that person who left was never meant to stay. Maybe that delay you're frustrated about is actually the exact moment Allah is saving you from harm. Faith is not built when life is perfect. Faith is built in the storm, when you are forced to hold on to the unseen, when you whisper, Ya Allah, through your tears, and when you choose to believe in His mercy even when you can't feel it. That's the real victory. Not in escaping pain, but in allowing it to purify your soul and reconnect you to the one who never leaves. There comes a moment in every believer's life when the heart reaches its breaking point, when the pain feels heavier than the soul can carry, and when the silence of unanswered prayers begins to echo louder than any sound. It is in these moments that faith is truly tested, not by how loudly we can proclaim belief when life is smooth, by how silently we can trust when everything feels like it's falling apart. When nothing seems to go your way, it is easy to think that Allah has turned away from you. But in truth, this is the very moment He is closest. The Prophet told us that Allah is with the brokenhearted, and sometimes the only way for our hearts to truly turn to Him is for life to stop giving us anyone else to turn to. The beauty of hardship is that it strips away the noise of this world, the illusions of power, control, and independence, and brings you face to face with the reality that you are not self-sufficient, you are dependent. You are a creation who needs her creator. And this realization is not weakness, it's the beginning of real strength. When you finally stop running from your pain and instead let it guide you back to Allah, you begin to see that what you thought was a curse was in fact a calling. You start to see that every disappointment was designed not to break you, but to redirect you. Think about the times you felt completely lost, when you cried in the dark with no one to comfort you, when it seemed like even your prayers were hitting the ceiling and falling back down unanswered. Yet somehow you survived. Somehow you got through it. That was not luck. That was Allah carrying you when you didn't even realize it. That was mercy in disguise. The hardship didn't change because you were strong. It changed because Allah was still writing your story even when you couldn't see the ink. When life gets too hard, it's not a signal to give up. It's an invitation to surrender, not to despair, but to trust, to stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "What is Allah trying to teach me through this?" Sometimes what He wants to teach you is patience. Sometimes it's gratitude. And sometimes it's love, the kind of love that doesn't depend on anything this world can give. Because when everything in this dunya betrays you and you still raise your hands in dua, that's when you've reached a level of faith that angels record with honor. The Quran reminds us that with hardship comes ease, not after it, but with it. That means even in the middle of your storm, there is something beautiful growing inside of you, something that only hardship could plant. So when life seems unbearable and your chest feels too tight to breathe, remember that Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. He knows the strength you don't even know you have. He knows that your tears, your exhaustion, and your frustration are not signs of failure. They are proof that you're still trying. Every moment you continue to turn to Him, despite the pain, is a moment of victory. The goal was never a life without struggle. The goal was a heart that could survive struggle and still choose faith. This world was never meant to be paradise. It was meant to remind you that paradise is coming. So when nothing goes your way, when doors keep closing, and when your heart feels like it's breaking, remind yourself that even this is part of His plan. Sometimes Allah closes doors not to punish you, but to protect you. Sometimes He delays answers not to ignore you, but to prepare you. And sometimes He breaks your heart not to destroy it, but to rebuild it upon something eternal. Because when all else fails and you are left with nothing but Him, you realize that He was all you ever needed in the first place. There are moments in life when everything you had faith in begins to crumble before your eyes, when every dream you built starts to collapse, and when the silence of your unanswered prayers begins to echo in your soul like a haunting reminder of how helpless you are. These are the moments that test the very foundation of your belief, the moments when you wonder if your dua even reaches the heavens anymore. You wake up each day with a heavy heart trying to find meaning in the chaos, trying to convince yourself that Allah is still listening. Even though everything around you seems to say otherwise, you start to ask yourself, if He loves me, why is this happening to me? But what if love isn't always soft and comforting? What if sometimes love comes in the form of loss, hardship, and heartbreak? What if the breaking you're experiencing is actually the making of your soul? The truth is, Allah doesn't let you go through pain because He wants to see you suffer. He lets you go through it because He wants to transform you. Growth never happens in comfort. It happens in the fire of difficulty. Just like gold is purified through heat, the heart is purified through trials. You may not see it now. Every hardship you've faced, every tear you've cried, and every disappointment you've endured is shaping you into someone capable of deeper faith, stronger patience, and more sincere love for the one who never leaves. When life feels too heavy and you begin to feel forgotten, remind yourself that even the prophets, those closest to Allah, experience moments of deep pain and despair. Prophet Yunus was swallowed by the darkness of the whale and cried out from the depths, "There is no God, but you, glory be to you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers." Prophet Ayub lost everything, his health, his wealth, and his family, and still whispered, "Indeed, hardship has touched me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful." These stories aren't just tales from history, they are divine reminders that even in the deepest darkness, faith is what lights the way. Allah never promised us a life free of pain. He promised that He would never leave us in it. The test of faith isn't about whether or not you face difficulty. It's about how you respond when you do. When your world falls apart, do you crumble with it? Or do you use that pain to rebuild yourself upon Allah's love? Every time you choose to turn to Him instead of turning away, every time you say, Alhamdulillah, with tears in your eyes, you're proving that your faith is not shallow, it's real, it's lived, and it's rooted in something eternal. And it is that kind of faith that becomes unshakable, the kind that no hardship can destroy. Sometimes we look at our pain and think it's a punishment, when in reality it's a preparation. Allah is preparing you for something greater than what you can currently handle. He's strengthening your heart, polishing your soul, and teaching you lessons you could never learn in comfort. You see, it's easy to say, "I trust Allah," when everything is going well. True trust is proven when nothing goes your way, and you still say, "I know my Lord is with me." That's when faith becomes real, not in the times of ease, but in the moments of desperation when you have every reason to give up, yet you still choose hope. It's in those silent nights of crying to Allah, in those moments of sincere dua, that your heart begins to heal in ways the world cannot understand, because Allah hears what you cannot even put into words. He knows the battles you're fighting silently, and He promises in the Quran that indeed with hardship comes ease. Notice, He didn't say after hardship, He said with it. That means your ease is not far, it's already intertwined with your struggle, waiting for you to trust long enough to see it unfold. So when you find yourself standing in the middle of your storm, remember that you are not alone. The pain that feels unbearable today will one day become the story of your strength. Every test you endure is a message from Allah saying, I still see you, still love you, and I'm still guiding you. The very things that make you cry now will one day make you grateful, because they will bring you closer to the one who never lets go. Life is not about avoiding pain, it's about learning to walk through it with faith. So don't give up. Keep praying even when it hurts. Keep making dua even when it feels like nothing is changing. Keep trusting even when you don't understand. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that everything that broke you is actually building you. The tears you cried were watering the seeds of your strength. The silence you feared was actually Allah's way of speaking to your heart. He was never absent. He was preparing you for a version of yourself that could only be born through the fire of hardship. And when you finally emerge from it, you'll understand that every no from Allah was never rejection. It was redirection toward something far more beautiful than you could ever imagine.